Hi guys, Pieguyrulz here, and welcome to my Book 2 Korra vlogs. Let me start off by saying that there might be a little bit of noises in the background. Ignore them. I'm also going to say that there's spoilers, like major spoilers. Seriously, if you're not watching the show and you're watching these videos, what is wrong with you? Anyway, so tonight I watched Rebel Spirit and what I assume is the Southern Lights. A little bit of confusion with that because when Nickelodeon aired it as a 1 hour premiere, I don't know why I did air quotes, it was a 1 hour premiere, it makes it seem like it was just one long episode. There wasn't a second title card, like, book 2, chapter 2 or whatever. At least not when I saw. Maybe I missed it. It was in between commercials or whatever. So it made it look like it was just kind of like a 2-part episode. But I think the second episode, the Southern Lights, judging by the title, the Southern Lights, that was the second half of the 1 hour premiere that I saw here. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it was Rebel Spirit and the Southern Lights. I may need to post an addendum on that later. Hopefully not. Anyway, that out of the way. I don't want to recap things. I mean, maybe I'll just slightly touch on events, that I want to. But I don't want these to be recaps. I want this to be more opinion and stuff. And firstly, let me say that the animation is just fantastic. You don't get to see animation like this anymore. You didn't even really get to see animation like this back then. Like, I'm kind of getting sick of the super clean Adventure Time, Phineas and Ferb, Gravity Falls, like that super clean. I'm not saying it's bad or anything. Those are better. The animation in those shows are better than most of the other things out there, but it's starting to get very much like this is just kind of the standard. This is the good standard. But with Korra, it does things, and I mean this is carryover from season 1, but even it's better than season 1. Like the stuff that they've done with focusing, like focus on one character and have the background be blurred and stuff like that's just awesome. Like it's cinematic, really. And with the widescreen and the high definition, which I'm still not entirely sure if that actually does anything, but it looks amazing. As far as the story, I'm really liking it. Like, I like that I don't entirely know where it's going, and this is something that season 1 of Korra kind of had going for it, up until a certain point when you kind of, okay, this is the Amon thing, we're fighting the Amon thing, but with book 2 here, you don't, there's a spiritual, obviously Korra's gonna have to fix the spirit world, but there's also something going on with Tenzin visiting all the temples. There's something spiritual going on there. There's also, a bunch of subplots where Asami wants to get Future Industries back on track, where Bolin is chasing after these really creepy twins. And Mako's on the police force. Of course, we don't get to see much of that because none of this really takes place in the public city aside from the first few seconds. Korra's also, a little bit better at airbending. Not great, mind you, but she knows Korra style. And then she also has the Avatar state, which she uses as a sort of power-up, which is interesting because Aang's was always a reflex, like if he was gonna die or if someone was in danger, that was how his Avatar state was triggered. And that's good because it's not it's not taken lightly, but it's bad because he didn't really have much control over it until the end. With Korra, it seems to be the opposite, where it's good that she has the Avatar state. It's good that she has this, but at the same time, she's not respecting it enough. She's not using it in the right way. And I see where Tenzin is going with this. There was a lot of times in season 1 where Tenzin or the higher ups would say to Korra, like, you can't do this, or but it's kind of understood that this is, you can't be using this for fun and games. You train with it, of course, but if you die, like, your Avatar's dead. Like, that's not good. Danger. So I kind of got that, and I like how they finally, Korra really addressed that she's been told what to do as the Avatar from Tenzin, from the White Lotus, from Tarlok, from, everyone's been telling her what to do with being the Avatar, and now she's finally putting her foot down and saying, no, I'm the Avatar, you gotta deal with it. Not actually, but like, she's finally kind of stepping into the role of her own and being her own Avatar as opposed to being the Avatar that everyone else thinks she should be. And that's really cool, because that was something that did get a bit annoying. And they addressed it a little bit in book 1, but it got a bit annoying, that they kind of went with that cliche of the elders knowing what's best for Korra. It's cool to see them break away from that. And it's cool to find out this backstory about her dad. Like, who knew? And it's also a very believable backstory. It wasn't like he did something that betrayed, his tribe, or, he spoke out of turn and, and had to act Nikai his father. This was a very much a bad guys invaded the village. They ran off. They didn't want the bad guys to get away, so they chased after them and did what was necessary. Unfortunately, they didn't realize or respect enough that this is a spiritual zone. And they paid for that. And I mentioned it, but I do like the similarity, between the Zuko banishing and the father banishing. That's cool. And it's also cool to see more of, Korra's family. Although you get the feeling now that the Water Tribe is really messed up. Like, thinking to the season 1 of Korra, and now with this, like, so much of the bad guys, or the people causing problems are waterbenders, which I guess thematically works with Korra. And it's funny, because it's the Water Tribe that's out of balance now. The Fire Nation's kind of back on track. The Earth Nation's kind of back on track. The Air Nation is getting there. It's starting to get back on track. And now it's the Water Tribe that's really messed up. And I like the whole problems with, you have two tribes that are completely on the opposite side of the world, and they're supposed to kind of work together. But how do you do that? Especially without technology. Speaking of technology, there's also a little bit of film history in there for anyone that cares to know. The moving picture machine and all that. Like, that's straight out of referencing actual film history of the first film, and the horse that went around, and the peep shows, basically. Like, that was really cool. And I like the character, the really, like, over the top, rich guy. I kind of got the Gatsby vibe a little bit from them. And that actually, like, with the carnival and everything, like, I got a little bit of the Gatsby vibe of, the old tradition and the new tradition coming in there. So let's see. And then there's the Korra Mako thing. And I'm sorry if this one's a little bit scatterbrained. It's hard because this was 44 minutes of information that I'm trying to get out my thoughts on. The Mako Korra thing. I tweeted it. And I think it's funny because, everyone called Mako pretty bland of a character. Not awful, just bland. And it's his blandness that's getting in the way of this romance, because Korra looks to him for something and he's just like, I support you. My opinion is your opinion. Like, I'm a generic good boyfriend. And I kind of like that that's the problem, because that it just kind of addresses that he's bland. And I like that the realism of Asami not really, like, she's there and she's friends with Bolin, but she's not really with Korra or Mako, which makes sense. Like, would you really be? Like, it's as much as I like Asami and I want to see more of her, there's that. And then, the the Bolin with the twins. I gotta say, that was hilarious. Like, that was, all of that was much needed comic relief. Like, that was, Bolin is Sokka. Like, that's a thing. And just, like, oh man, like, one of those is a boy. Like, just that line, like, cracked me up. Like, the Korra's delivery and Mako's Bolin's reaction, just, it was great. Like, that's just some good comedy right there. And then they're really, like, emotionless and weird, and it's interesting, to say the least. They had some interesting characters, and then, so, yeah, and I don't know if I mentioned it, but the new characters of Tenzin's siblings, and the brother, like, it's cool to see. It's cool to see, I really hope that we're going to be focusing quite a bit on Tenzin's family, because those are interesting characters. And especially they seem to be going with the oldest daughter, seems to really have kind of starting to get some spiritual connection, which should be really interesting. Oh, I'd like to see a lot more of Lin Beifong. We didn't get to see any of her at all. She was mentioned that she's back on the force. I think she was, like, Mako's, like, police chief or whatever. But we didn't get to see her at all, and she was an awesome character. I really hope she gets featured a lot more later in the season when we get back to Republic City, because that's one of the cool things they said about the series or the season is that we're going to spend time away from Republic City, and we're also going to spend time in Republic City. So we kind of get the best of both worlds, that it seems like we're going to be spending a lot of time in the Water Tribe, a lot of time on the Air Islands, a lot of time in the Spirit World. Like, we're going to see a lot of things that we haven't seen in Book 1, which is really cool. Like, that's what they need to do. And now that they've had a really long time to work on it, I feel like they know what they're doing now. They have all these locations, they have all this... there's going to be a bunch of different stories, intertwined here, as opposed to the whole, just one Amon story straight through. Like, Season 1 kind of set up that there might be some, fighting the triads on the side or whatever, that there's, petty crime that needs to be taken care of too. But once they got to Amon, like, they were just straight through Amon. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it's nice to see some variation. It's also nice to see that there's not a war for once. I mean... Avatar: The Last Airbender was about a huge war. Book 1 of Korra was pretty much a war for Republic City. So it's cool. I mean, I hope this doesn't end in a war against the Spirit World or anything stupid, or like the Northern Tribe warring with the Southern Tribe or whatever. And let's see what else. Oh, I like the complexity of the father and the uncle's relationship, Korra's father and uncle. I like the whole, neither of them are bad guys, but they see different viewpoints, and one of them was banished, but it was for reasons, and, the other one is now the leader, and, like, how much power should he come down and say? Yeah, the Southern Tribe does have problems, but is it really, is it right to just come in here and take over? Like, it's interesting. And I also, like, this show is going to be great. The season is going to be fantastic. I can't wait for more of it, and I will see you guys next Friday for the next Korra vlog. Pieguyrulz, out.